Welcome to Inside the Red Raider Special Report. I'm Jared Johnson, and I want to give my thoughts on the Shiel Wood hiring as Texas Tech's new defensive coordinator. First off, I'm ecstatic about it, and he was one of the first people I just thought of when it started becoming apparent to me. It's not like inside somebody told me, "Oh, this is going to happen," but just with obviously the results, the poor defensive play, but then also just the way some of the press conferences were going. It just sounded like a change was imminent, and it was time that Tim DeRuyter would be out. So it came as no surprise to me that Sunday, the day after the regular season finale, that Texas Tech went that route. So as soon as I heard that, or even before, in thinking, I was like, man, I didn't even know who Shiel Wood was. I was just looking at what Houston was doing defensively when looking at the stats, and started looking up and who is this guy? Well, this guy is a dude who's known for turning around bad defenses. In his first year at Houston, he's also spent time at Tulane, did something similar there. Troy was at Army, was an assistant coach at Georgia Tech. Spent a long time at Wofford, kind of was like his proving grounds back in the day. But I want to give you some stats from what he did at Houston. He improved Houston's defense by almost a touchdown and 100 total yards per game over the previous year. So, I mean, that's huge. Anytime you could allow a touchdown less than 100 yards per game, especially that touchdown, you're doing something. That you're talking about winning several more ball games. And you look at how many close games Tech was in just this last year. Tech's probably in the Big 12. Well, Tech is in the Big 12 championship if their defense is improved by a touchdown. And speaking of that, Houston's defense this year allowed almost 2 touchdowns less than Texas Tech and 130 total yards, over 100 passing yards less than Texas Tech's defense. Now, there's something to be said for the style of the game and all that, but still, those numbers, they're too big to just be dismissed by style of the game. You're talking about the same conference, not the complete same opponents like it used to be, but still, that's very impressive. Houston's defense was second in the Big 12 in total defense, which is also very impressive. And in terms of just his style, 3-4 alignment, but it's going to look a lot the same. Joe McGuire said in his press conference on Wednesday, and I wanted to get his input some before doing this video. Because believe it or not, I do think, while I don't agree with everything he says, I do think the head coach's mindset into a hiring of one of his assistant coaches, especially a coordinator, is important, whether that's right or wrong. But he did say he wanted to keep a similar style in that some of the personnel he has, some of the bigger defensive end, outside linebacker type guys. And that Shiel Wood running a 3-4 type of alignment, it's going to look very similar to, basically a 3-3-5. I mean, it's going to, he said the scheme still, Shiel Wood's scheme still calls for 5 defensive backs. That guy who's been playing, say an outside linebacker, defensive end type hybrid, that's still going to be the case. It's still going to look like a defensive end. Maybe he'll drop some, but those guys were already doing that anyways when they play, like the field. But it's going to look very similar in alignment to most, to be honest. I think it was also interesting that McGuire said that, Shiel is going to have a lot of input on, the assistants, who's going to be on the staff. And he mentioned 2 guys that he'd like to keep, that he suggested that Coach Wood keep. And that's C.J. Ayu, the outside linebackers coach. He said, I can't imagine this defensive staff without him. He's that good of a coach. And then Darcel McBath, that he did suggest it would be good to promote him from an analyst position to possibly, a secondary coach, DB coach, whatever. And of course, former Red Raider great. And he, all the talk behind the scenes is that he's done a really good job behind the scenes as an analyst for Texas Tech. And I think that was always probably a thought, was that he would be promoted, come here, get acclimated, work with some of the guys behind the scenes, and then, get promoted when the opportunity arose. So, or make that opportunity happen. So, I think that's interesting. My biggest reaction or my biggest thought is just this guy has a proven track record at different places of drastically improving defenses in the first year, wherever he goes. And my thought is if he can even do half of that at Texas Tech, but if he can do that at Texas Tech, then you're talking about uh, a major upgrade and a very impactful uh, coaching job by a coordinator, by a defensive coordinator. So I think it's a great hire. I think Shiel Wood, you know, is one of them was one of the more coveted guys. It's somebody you heard a lot of chatter about from other media folks, from other schools. A lot of people wanted him, so for Texas Tech to get him is huge. One of the most coveted defensive coordinators in Texas. So, and then to get him from obviously a school you play a lot of the years in conference play, in conference opponent, you know, recruiting rival, in-state potential rival in Houston is huge. I mean, that's another wrinkle to it. I think it's an important layer. So overall, I think on paper it's a great hire. We'll have to see how it works out, see what the rest of the staff looks like, all that. But man, he knows the lay of the land with the Big 12. Obviously, this last year, he knows how to improve defenses. Similar scheme, so it shouldn't be much of a transition in terms of having to get a whole lot of new personnel or guys that will have to fit where maybe they're not a good fit. So I really like that. And then we'll have to see if he brings any of his dudes from Houston. I don't have names right now, but the plan is in place, I'm sure. And you know, the portal doesn't open until December 9th, but that's something to watch for sure. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.